And another piece would be to take ownership without self-judgment. How to really just go, okay, I fucked up. I'm sorry. How can I clean up the mess and make it better? Versus not even being able to say I fucked up, or I hurt you, or I'm sorry I hurt you. And a lot of times we hurt people, but we have no intention. And because we had no intention, we don't think we hurt them, but we did. So it's about, I don't need to be right about my intention. They're hurt. I'm going to get over in their world and apologize. And how can I make it better? Because I'm already whole. I don't need their approval and to look good to be whole. I'm already whole.
What is up, everybody? This is Josh Lanphier, co-host of the Wisdom Matrix, and I'm super excited to introduce you to our new episode with Allana Pratt. Allana is an emotional intimacy expert. She is a relationship and intimacy coach. She is a global media personality. She's the go-to authority for those ready to transcend heartbreak, live unapologetically, and cultivate a soul-shaking relationship with themselves and with others. Right? I didn't write that. She did. Here's what I want to say about my sister, Allana, and the conversation that we had. So she's amazingly vulnerable. She always speaks truth. She's an open book. We talk about certain life experiences that she has gone through from her early days. We talk about her relationship to her son, and they were estranged for many years, and now they're in a season of reconnection. We talk about her work as a coach. We talk about her work with psychedelic plant medicines and, highlight stuff around the act of surrendering, the act of trusting and listening to your own intuition, the act of creating intimacy within yourself so that you may create intimacy with others. We talk about young men and what somebody in Allana's position believes that young men need help cultivating in today's day and age. And it was just a really sweet conversation. Allana is she's a wonderful woman, but she's also a fierce woman. She's a powerhouse. You'll hear me in the opening introduction with her acknowledge and compliment her beautiful balance of masculine and feminine energies. And she has just done so much work on herself and channels it now through her offerings and to her clients in a way that just creates safety and trust and space for people to come back into their bodies, to feel their emotions, but beyond that, to just reclaim their lives and to really fall in love with life, with themselves, with others. And, that's what it's all about, right? So I'm super excited to introduce you to my sister, Allana Pratt. I hope you enjoy this conversation. And if you do, please like, subscribe, share, all the things that all the other podcasters do to pitch their show. I'm making that plug now. Much love, guys. Welcome back to the Wisdom Matrix. I'm here with my co-hosts, Madi and Travis, and we have the wonderful, the wise, and the brilliant Allana Pratt with us today. She is a relationship and intimacy coach, and I could sit here and list all of her accolades and achievements and worldly adventures, but I think the way that I would love to introduce you, Allana and I spent the last year in a very deep and intimate co-ed teacher-trainer container together. And I got to witness and hold and be with this woman as she navigated fears of rejection and abandonment as she stepped into a new community and it surfaced, past rejections and abandonment that you've gone through in other communities. And really what was so beautiful to witness and heart-wrenching was the pain and heartbreak that you held and felt and expressed around the estrangement of your college-age son, and then the celebration and joy of the reconnection and the beginning stages of healing that relationship. that moment specifically when you shared the reconnection, it was just such a powerful healing moment for me, because I got to a mother's unconditional, unwavering love after years of no contact, which we'll get into in this episode. But man, it's just so powerful. And I think the last thing that I want to say, Allana, and I'll shut the fuck up because I ramble a lot, is you are just a beautiful, wonderful example of a woman who so perfectly balances masculine and feminine energies. Mm. And so you're focused, you're fierce, you're disciplined, you're an absolute powerhouse when it comes to your art and to your businesses. You also are very soft, very tender, very open-hearted, very expressive and full of energy. And so it's this very attractive, beyond the physical and the energetic levels, but there's this magnetism to you. And I just want to, I guess, start there. Maybe the question to get us started is, how'd you do it?
You're going to start.
Yeah. How does that land for you?
I love that. Just a little layup. Yeah.
I need to record that little piece and put it in my pocket or put it on my phone anytime I'm like, I'm such a loser. Like, who am I really? Josh remembers, Josh sees. Thank you for such
I will be your hype man for life.
Thank you, my wingman. I think I got here by feeling. I did my best to not stuff life experiences for the past 56 years. We can go into different stories. Best friend died when I was 16. Dad drunk and stoned my whole life, and not a lot of fun things went down. Mom died. Quit college and backpacked all over Southeast Asia and crazy adventures. Shut down again and married a Wall Street man and did the right thing as the Wall Street wife. Found myself again in coaching, had a baby right after my mom died, 13-year custody battle, found plant medicine. 25 years ago, more leaving my body, about 5-6 years ago, integrating trauma in my body, and discovered all the sexual abuse that I had dissociated for all those decades and why I was a hypervigilant overachiever. I had a son, and he chose after 13 years to live with dad. And he was right. It stopped the court battle, but it also stopped communication with me. And so that sacrifice for the higher good of your child. And through it all, somehow being able to, nothing against working at Starbucks, but I've been an entrepreneur and never had to, close shop. And I'm so grateful for my perseverance and my vulnerability with my clients. And that's what they come to me for, is I'm real, I'm relatable. I don't hide where I'm a fucked up mess, and nor do I hide where I'm a master and I knock it out of the park. Like, this is the whole package. And I think the through line is feeling what was so, day after day, moment after moment, fetal position after, ecstatic moment. So that's what I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I love the idea of it pays to be vulnerable. Like, it literally pays to be vulnerable. I know, with the men that I work with, I lead with vulnerability, and I teach vulnerability as like the uncompromising step one to any journey, is being vulnerable with yourself, with others, with your loved ones. I've seen you be vulnerable for as long as I've known you, both in your personal life and in your professional life. And it pays.
It sounds like you've been through many chapters of adversity. Now that you've been through that cycle and process, like for listeners who are maybe going through a chapter of adversity, or a chapter of adversity is approaching in if we can see it coming, how do you suggest to somebody like they work through it? What is the beginning? Where's the entry point? How do you sustain through it? How do you see the light at the end of the tunnel? Where do you find the courage in those chapters?
It's such a great question, because courage to me is la cour, the heart, the body, feeling. I can be a pig-headed, stubborn bitch and just push and push and push, but that never creates transformation, because you're not co-creating with the universe. It's your ego up against the divine. So for me, the first entry point is my body's my best friend. My emotions are not wrong or bad. And to go within, it's almost like you have like a little Travis in there. You're just like your son came earlier, like, hey, little guy, what's going on? Like a curiosity on the inside of a tightness in the throat, or a caved in the chest, or a nervousness in the stomach, or for the ladies, like a walking around with a permakegel. Like, what is going on in the body? Like, listen as if it's your best friend giving you information of what's off, out of alignment, incoherent with your values, your expression, your worth, and feel, which is intense at first. When an emotion comes up, you may have been raised to, boys don't cry and girls better be seen, not heard, this type of thing. You might have been trained literally to stuff your emotions. So to create a container like you do with your men's programs or your retreats, or I do with my clients, we're that safe container to feel and to be seen and to literally reparent yourself, and to be with facilitators who can help reparent you in a relational way that your feelings matter. You matter. We're not going anywhere. You're safe. Tell me more. Like this way of coming within and being with yourself. And you have to titrate in the beginning because it can be quite emotional to feel anger if you've never let it happen, or despair if you've never let it happen, or shame or self-hatred if you've never let that whole wave of the emotion occur. But as you get better at it, what was remarkable for me when I first started to learn to feel a feeling, I thought I was going to die. Like I literally thought I was going to die, or I was going to go crazy, or I was going to lose my mind and be in an insane asylum. Like it was such an intense wave of energy. But when I got the hang of it and I had facilitators support me and plant medicine support me, there's a lot of different ways. But I realized, wow, there's this wave as it comes up and then it settles. It doesn't go away. It's alchemy. It's pain into presence or power. It's shame into allowance and compassion. It's fear into maybe confidence and courage. Like this energy, this fear, the shame, the anger, it doesn't go away when you feel a feeling accurately. It changes into this embodied higher frequency capacity that lives within you that no one, no thing, no circumstance can take away. So now when a feeling occurs within myself or a client, I know, I don't hope, I don't believe, I know I'm going to be more on the other side, more of who I came here to be. And over time, that question at the beginning, Josh, through feeling horrible things, I am more present, more compassionate, more tender, more courageous, more of who I'm proud to be for myself and others. Still not perfect, but never going to get there. But yeah, more whole.
I think there's something wonderful in what you just said and wise, which is, when we really learn to be with our emotions at the beginning, it can be scary and it can be overwhelming. But then with the reps and your body starts to become a lot more receptive and fluid with this stuff. Yeah. So now I know personally, when I have really big waves of energy come through, like for example, celebrating you and your son reconnecting, and I had this whole, I'm sitting right here and sobbing for 20 minutes around my own relationship with my mom. But what's happened is in those moments now, I get a few minutes in and I go, oh yeah, I need to stay right here. And in fact, I need to go I need to press my finger deeper into whatever wound might be there, because I know there's bliss on the other side, freedom, more energy, more access, whatever it is. And so now it's almost become like, say I'm a junkie for this shit, because there's an intoxication to feeling your emotions fully. And then the reward on the other side of that is, I just don't think there's really anything comparable.
I like that you're a junkie for integration. For me, what it feels like, what I experience is that I was like a kinked up hose, or like all this crap stored in my body, this held trauma. And as wave after wave happened and I integrated, it's like I became a more open vessel. And it's like my soul, like the light of my soul, like comes on in, and I don't have to like sort of meditate and go out and think about something anymore. It's just like my knowing lives in me. My intuition is so clear. My enoughness. I don't need to accomplish or achieve anything anymore to feel whole. I have preferences, but I don't need it anymore. And I needed it before. So there's something about integrating that feels so good. I think because our soul gets to come home in our bodies. We get to be all that we are in a body on a planet, here to support others. It turns me on.
What is, in your view, what is intuition, and how does somebody hear it, listen to it, feel it, experience it?
To me, it's not in the head. Although I'm a cum laude graduate of an Ivy League school and I tried real hard to be smart enough and good enough and all those things didn't. And that's lovely, but that's not where intuition comes from for me. It's embodied, guttural. It's even pre-verbal. It's like expansive or contractive, a yes or a no. It's a feeling. I wouldn't say it's an emotion, but it's a feeling. Some people, I think it could turn into images or words and such, but I'm quite kinesthetic. And for me, it's a it's a feeling of go this way, don't go this way. Take that freeway, not this freeway. Marry this guy, don't marry this guy. I didn't used to listen though. I will be honest. I knew I've been married twice. No, what are you doing? But that's why another reason I do the work that I do, because when we're triggered, when we haven't integrated those emotions, the only place we are living is in our amygdala, fight or flight or freeze or fawn, and that will make the decision. And you can know better and go to an Ivy League school. You can have the script of what to do or say. You can have all your mentors telling you, go left, don't go right. But if that wound is not integrated, it's louder than everything. And that's why I have a lot of compassion for people's choices, because I made some unwise, but then not to judge myself, because there's a lot of wisdom on the other side of integrating those choices. But I didn't make choices in alignment with my heart. I was too scared, too insecure, too terrified.
Now, obviously, the benefit of hindsight is amazing. Yeah. As you get older, especially as the years you go by. And one of the things that struck me about your story was the time that you spent in Southeast Asia. And then I think you were in Japan as well. Mm-hmm. And now kind of reflecting on kind of the tapestry of your life. And we delve in on this podcast, we delve in a lot of different wisdom traditions, Eastern, Western, and having had that exposure to the Eastern traditions at that time when you were very young. Well, it sounds like there was a lot of things you worked through after that experience in your life, but how influential do you feel that time was to who you are now, and kind of some of the work you've done, post that experience, and just being exposed to kind of a very different tradition than maybe what you grew up with in the West?
Yeah, it was both the traditions and what I allowed myself to experience. I quit college, not okay in my family, hopped on Uncle Phil's semi from Canada to LA, not okay. Tried to get a job as a dancer. I'd been a dancer since I was 5, not okay. You should get a professional job. Then I was Canadian and couldn't get a job. So I finally figured out a way to get a job there. But I was dancing topless in a club, not okay. Like it was just list and list after not okay. Backpacking through Thailand, not okay. I was discovering me. I was discovering what I could create without, doing it right or looking good, or because daddy made a call and all the rest of it. So there was that. Number 2, it really, in hindsight, showed me how performative I thought sexuality was at the time. I thought my body was a piece of meat, that it was, sexuality was a power to manipulate with, or be careful not to get manipulated by. It was a very big wake up call. And believe it or not, the French girls that I danced with from the Moulin Rouge in Japan, they told me so many funny things. First, they said, the man likes it when the woman touches the woman. And I said, what? I was so young. I had no idea. So this idea of women appreciating each other's bodies, never, ever. That was like so scary for me. The other thing they said is, watch this, what we do with the men. So they would go on stage, and the men on my side of the stage, we called them scabbe. They were horny and very leering looks, and it just made me so uncomfortable. And I would like dissociate and leave my body. But on their side of the stage, they were interacting with them. And I swear the men would just sort of sit up and be on their best behavior. And I'm like, what is going on? And they said, so Allana, you breathe in the energy. And then you say, I am a goddess. Thank you for noticing. And then you exhale blessings to them. And I'm like, and I'd started to read spiritual material at this point. I'm like, that's fucking Tonglen from Tibetans. That is what the monks do when they breathe in the pain and suffering of the world and exhale compassion. That's what these dancers were doing inherently, just by loving their bodies as a divine temple and being unwilling to see their body as a piece of meat. So in some ways, I grew up a lot around my worth, which set me up later to do plant medicine, to move into sensuality, to address my sexual abuse, and to be turned on by being alive, not wait to be turned on by bow chicka bow bow, but we get to be turned on every day.
That's great. I can just picture that moment in the And with the dancers, I mean, that's it's amazing where lessons and wisdom comes from. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then, so you came back from Asia, you finished school, got married, and then how did you first discover plant medicine? Do you still kind of recall that moment? Was it accidental? Was it intentional?
I went to Colombia. I married my first husband. I sort of contracted a little bit into, I had a bob and I wore suits and I had a big ring and I did all the right things. And I really lost myself. And then we moved out to Los Angeles and there was a lot more spiritual people and spiritual traditions. And I started doing different personal growth courses. And one of them had a guest who it was called Warrior Sage, Satyan and Suzanne Raja up in Canada. And they would bring in plant medicine ceremonies to the personal growth work we were doing. So my very first experience was 50 people, Peruvian shaman, ayahuasca. And it was when my son was very small and all the kids stayed in the house and all of us stayed on the land in tents. And the very first time I did the medicine, all these demons came. And I fought them all night, threw up all night. It was awful. I said to the shaman in the morning, I don't ever want to do this again. He goes, stubborn, big ego, more medicine. I'm like, no, I don't want more medicine. And so for the second journey, I didn't, the first time, when you do your sankalpa, like, what do you want? I'm like, I want a man and more money. And I want all these things. And so she kicked my ass. So the second time I'm just like, show me the way, show me the way. And the shaman said, all those demons are you. They're your self-hatred, your insecurity. They're just say, Panchamama, thank you. I choose love. So that's what I did, demon after demon. And I'm like, oh, that's me. And by the very end, maybe there was like 12 demons. Again, just purging. The last one was me in physical form, but my arms were up like this. I was still so ashamed that I couldn't look someone in the eye. But I had the experience of thinking, isn't she lovely? Like I had compassion for myself. So that was one of my first amazing ceremonies where then afterwards I could look people in the eye. I couldn't wait to find my son. I can look everybody in the eye. I was able to not be ashamed of who I was for the first time in my life, in my early 30s. Another plant medicine journey that was also very important for me is, again, my arrogance and ego needed a talking to. So at the beginning I had to pee. I'm like, oh no. And it was pouring rain outside and there was 50 of us in this big tent. And I said, I can't, it's dark. I can't find my way. And I just heard a voice just as clear as you and I talking, get up, I'll walk you. And then I was like, fine, I'll show you. So I got up and I was going to do my drama and fall down and the whole thing. I swear it was like a marionette puppet. She picked me right up. She's like, let's walk. I'm like, holy shit. So I walked. She goes, socks off. And then I went outside in the mud and the pouring rain. She's like, pants down, squat. And and all the stars were just so luminescent. And then pants up, come back. And she's like, socks on. And now it's dark. It's 50, 25 people deep, 50 people, right? Into the nothingness. And I said, I won't be able to find my way. She goes, I got you. So I walked and I walked and I walked and I finally bumped up against the sleeping bags. And I swear I put my hands out in front. And there was obviously 2 people on either side. And I figured I'd be a little to the left, little to the right, maybe even 3 or 4 people off. Right there. I was right there. And she's like, sit down. And she's like, bucket. And I'm like, okay. She goes, do you trust me now? And I'm like, holy crap. That my ego, my drive, my goals, my achievements weren't soul-based. They weren't based in my truth and my heart. I had, shut out listening to the divine, listening to my soul, listening to the highest good of all. And I didn't need to do that anymore. There was a presence that had me that I was terrified to surrender to, but was there.
I want to underline a word you just said, which is surrender. And that's typically something you learn when you commune with these plant medicine spirits. But how has that experience of learning how to surrender affected your life?
I could go on, we could talk for 3 hours because every single area of my life has improved because I've been willing to surrender. Like show up with my intentions, but let go of attachment, let go of the outcome, let go of the importance or significance I've placed on a certain achievement. It's allowed me to forgive my exes. It's allowed me, now that I have a different use of plant medicine than before, which is very much somatic, stay in the body, psychedelic somatic integration, where I'm following the emotion and the body sensation completely surrendering to trusting the body, the medicine, and the divine to get my autonomic nervous system from level 4 dissociation all the way home to 0 point. And I don't know where we're going to go, and I don't know what's going to come up. And the very first, this style of medicine and guiding that I do with my clients and I've been guided on, very, very first session of probably 30, 35, 40 sessions at this point, all the memories came back of sexual abuse, the words, the smells, the sensations. It was horrifying to surrender into, oh my God, that's why I am attracted to the abuser in the room. Where's the abuser to survive is what the subconscious body has been doing professionally, romantically, maritally, like all these areas. And I would beat myself up so bad of like, you're such a smart woman. Why are you so fucked up when it comes to these all kinds of relationships? You have such good intentions. Your heart is so good. I realized, oh my God, underneath the iceberg, the whole subconscious was programmed to find the abuser to survive and would bypass the healthy people. So surrender to allow that experience, to have it while witnessing my body going through these horrors. And then at the end, to surrender and let go of self-judgment, blame of others, and to come home to myself. And I'm like, hey, sweet girl, that's why it happened. We can forgive ourselves and others now. We can make new choices. We have new awarenesses. So that's one way of big gift of being able to surrender, because I easily could have pushed all that away. And then just this last weekend, surrender. I have five employees. I've had them all about 5.5 years, this particular group. And one of them passed away on the weekend, unexpectedly. I was able to surrender to all the feelings, guide my team, hold space for my team through all the feelings. WhatsApp in the Philippines with the wife, like, be present. And I'm so grateful for my capacity to surrender to what's so. And so those are the hard things to surrender to. But there's also surrendering to, can you have it that good? Can you have it that blissful? Can you have your life really work? Can you have health and wealth and love and make an impact? Can you allow your life to be that in the flow? Can you allow others to be jealous of how good you got it as an inspiration that they can have it too? Can you let your orgasm be bigger? Can me allow myself, when I talk to my son for the very first time, and can I get on a plane tomorrow? Is that okay with you? Where are you? I will be there for lunch tomorrow. And I was, yeah. And surrendering to, in between when he calls now or texts now, it's been 6.5 years of nothing. So when it's been 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, surrender to, oh my God, it's going to be another 6.5 years. Like, I'm still so scared. Can I say what's real? Will he reject me again? Like, it's all surrendering to being human.
Yeah. It's interesting that, we talk a lot about surrender, especially as it relates to challenges, right? But your point on surrendering when like things are good,
yeah,
right? And not being in this mindset of like, oh, things are going good. Like, when's it going to turn? Like, how long can this last? Is surrender just enjoying and being present in, the abundance, is really important. It's something that people don't think of and we don't talk about enough, right? Because it's all about, you're going to face all these challenges, right? And like, how do you respond to challenges? Yeah. But man, there's times when you're just flowing and it's like, okay, surrender to that.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
Surrender to the pleasure of being alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we can just be busy and all of a sudden the day's over. Mm-hmm. But we haven't taken a moment to really enjoy the sun on our cheeks or the feeling of your little son in your arms. Like, that feels so good, Travis, when they hug you. Oh, I love it. I miss that. Mine's so big now. Yeah. Savor the moments.
Talk to us about your process with your son. So this is new. So after, I think you said, was it 6.5 years?
Yeah.
And so he's 23.
Yeah.
So he's about 5 years older than Travis and my eldest daughters. Was that out of the blue? Was it unexpected? Was that something you had been working like actively to kind of bring that back together? Or was it one of these beautiful life surprises that?
Yeah, it was definitely surrender. So it was a 13-year custody battle. And my son, when he was 15, said, Mom, I'm going to live with Dad. It's the only way to stop him. We have to let him win. I know what I'm doing. Don't stop me. And for 2 years, we saw each other secretly. And then when COVID hit, all of a sudden, zero contact. And all I could do was think, okay, I've got to honor his point of view. But then I got blocked. I got blocked on all the different channels. So I couldn't reach him. And I thought, okay, this is his wish. I'm not going to go against his request. Don't stop me. And so it was a dark night of the soul for 6.5 years. I would ask some friends if they would stalk him on their social media channel to figure out where he is. Like, I didn't even know where he lived. And I figured he would call when he was ready to unblock me. And I didn't understand what I did wrong. I didn't understand why he blocked me. I didn't understand anything, but I figured in time I would. So I did everything on the energetic level. I did every healing modality. I let go of bitterness for his dad. I let go of, being the victim as the mom. I sat one Mother's Day in my closet with candle, tissue box, and a bottle of Prosecco. And I looked myself in the mirror and I forgave myself for all the things I could think of that I could have done wrong that made this happen. It was dark and hard. And then I have a podcast, Intimate Conversations, for the last 14 years. And this psychic came on. And my mom's been gone for 25 years. I try not to use my guests for personal gain and get a session in the podcast. But by the end, I was like, can you talk to my mom about my son? And so my mom showed up and my two grandmas showed up and they're like, okay, so you got to get the baseball coach and the men's coach to contact him because they're not blocked and just see how he is. Just start a little bit of conversations that were connected back to when you were there. So I'm like, okay, I can do that. And and you need to make a birthday card for him just in case they'll send it to him for him of all these happy memories of all the years. I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I did that. And these two men called. They didn't get anywhere with him calling me, but we had planted some seeds. And then on his birthday, his 23rd birthday, he's a baseball player. They lost 17-1. And he called. It was only 90 seconds, but he's like, Mom, it's me. I'm sorry. I haven't called. We lost 17-1 and I knew the universe was saying enough already. Call your mother. And so I was like, and so it was really fast, 90 seconds after 6.5 years. And I was trying to be cool, but I was really intense. And then we finished I'm like, okay, can I call? And he's like, sure. And then I was blocked again for 3.5 months. And I was like, okay. And then on Mother's Day at 9:30 at night, he called again. And I was like, this time I was going to be chill. And we talked for 15 minutes. And he told me a little bit about a girl he was dating in college and all the rest. And then I was actually flying to see Josh and that teacher trainer group the next day. And I said, would it be okay if I rerouted my flight? We had lunch. So we did. And all of my coaches and energy workers, they're like, you are too intense. You need to integrate some of this emotion. You are blasting his nervous system. So by the time I got to lunch, I was super chill. No advice, no asking why. Just listen. And he talked for 2.5 hours. And it was so nourishing. He walked me to my car. He bought me ramen for lunch. And he said, text me when you get there, Mom. And then we slowly but surely started communication again. But here's where the dun 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 happened. I was out in New York for shooting some podcasts right when the Knicks were playing in the finals. And he's like, oh, Mom, I would love to go to New York and go to some of the watch games. Can I come? So I said, sure. So I bought him a ticket. He stayed with some of his friends. Night 1 was great. Night 2, I said something like, I really don't want you to feel guilty that you haven't called in all these years. Like, you did your best. I did my best. We're just about, rebuilding our relationship now. And he goes, guilty? It was all your fault. You're the one that abandoned me. You're the one that blocked me. That's what Dad said you'd say. And it was like, oh my God. All of a sudden, I was talking to a robot who didn't have memories of what I had memories of, had memories that I had no memories of. And anything where I said, don't you remember I saw you for 2 years? No, you didn't. That's what Dad said you'd say. I was a mess. I was in a park in New York, crying my face off. Off he went to the Knicks watch party. And I drank a bottle of wine watching the Knicks win, and calling a girlfriend going, there have been some, during my psychedelic integration work, Level 3 trauma is suicidal. It's hopeless. It's what's the point? And most of us, when we're doing our trauma integration work from dissociated, overachiever, hypervigilant driven, we come back into our body and it's so dark. Why did that happen? God, fuck you, right? Like it's just too much. And most people just go right back to hypervigilance again. It's just too much. They don't know what's going on with the nervous system, nor do they have a guide or facilitator to bring them home. But if you can get past level 3, which is dark, you'll get to level 2, that really intense terror or anger, and then it'll go to level 1, relief, and then you'll go to 0 point where all the wisdom drops in. So I cried that first night with my girlfriend, and I said, I'm going dark. I'm going to level 3. What's the point? I waited 6.5 years and now it's all my fault. I'm not doing well. And she's like, call your facilitator, call your coach in the morning. So I did. And he was so wise. He said, the programmer programmed him thinking you are who you are. You do your work. You're in integrity. You tell the truth. You feel your feelings. The programmer doesn't think you will take ownership for what you didn't do. Oh, you want me to take ownership for all these projections and lies that didn't even happen? Yep. Do you want love or do you want to be right? So the next day for lunch, I said, I don't remember everything that went down perfectly, but here's what I want you to know. I've done a lot of thinking. I take full ownership for everything I did that hurt you. And I'm so very sorry. Could you ever forgive me? And I swear I saw the program like an aura, like an energy go, and his shoulders dropped. And he said, thanks, Mom. And then I said, thank you so much for having the courage to not just be fake with me and stuff it under, but to tell me the truth. Again, program cracked. And then he had broken his pitching arm. And I said, just like your arm has grown back stronger, the bone has fused stronger than before, I'm committed that we repair this relationship. We repair the rupture stronger than it's ever been. So that's where I am now. Just treading a little lightly. I'm not sure when the next wave of projection will come or if it will, but he's called me twice since then, really stressed out, really overwhelmed. And I've been able to listen, entrained my nervous system, ask him questions about his truth and his intuition. And at the end, thanks, Mom. Thanks for being there for me. So we're rebuilding in really beautiful moments of intensity into peace. And I think the program of who I apparently am is starting to dissolve. And I'm doing my best to let go of attachment along the way.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Wow. What a roller coaster. Oh my goodness. That's powerful.
There's some gray coming through here.
It tends to do that. It tends to do that after time. Wow. That's an impressive share in terms of clarity and storytelling. You know, like I really I as you were sharing that, like just intuitively, like I was thinking of people, like people were coming to mind, like, oh my God, they need to hear this story.
Thank you.
You know, like I can't wait to share this with them. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it actually filled me with quite a bit of inspiration, you know, to come to some people that I love and also bring myself in a way that will, I think, be more loving than the need to be right.
Thank you for pointing that out, Travis. All the work I've done over the last 20 years, professionally and personally, I feel like prepared me to have the capacity to do that. I call myself an emotional intimacy expert so that we connect with like, let's say we're rejected, but we won't reject ourselves. Let's say we're not appreciated or understood, but we'll appreciate and understand ourselves. We'll find that autonomic nervous system place of rest inside, even if the circumstances and the relationships and everything on the outside isn't what we wanted, or even we've been deeply abused or betrayed. We never need to betray ourselves. It's a practice. But I feel it really supported my ability to apologize.
Well, and I'm so happy for you that you have had this reconnection and rebirthing into a new evolution and chapter with your son.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I've never had an experience of being that disconnected from being aware of that disconnection with a child before. And so I can appreciate like how hard that must have been for to just there to be nothing, especially as a mother. Yeah, just honoring how difficult and how brave and courageous you had to be to withstand that and work through it and ultimately begin to heal it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Thank you. And along the way, I did my best. Like without having that relationship, I made my clients overly important, or I would overgive with my time, or I would not surrender to date a man, or I date very like sort of pleasant surface men because I just didn't want them to see the darkness and sorrow and despair that still lived in me. So I can feel now on the other side in hindsight, again, as you said, 2020, wow, I'm coming back into balance. I overgave because of that deep hole of emptiness inside of me. I put up walls because I didn't know how to surrender this level of devastation to a man. I could to the divine, I could to nature, but I couldn't to a partnership. So I see I've been keeping it together with a good attitude and serving humanity and taking care of my health and well-being and making a difference and all these things. But you can kind of tell with the tone of my voice, we're just keeping it together. And now I'm like, oh God, he's back. Oh God, it's going to be another journey. Okay, let's just live. It's messy. Okay, it is what it is. I'm ready to date and I'm ready to not work as hard. And I'm even, it's funny. It's really funny now that I'm just saying this. Thank you for being such great listeners because I'm just getting this. My clients are popping right now. Like they all move the needle, but they are popping in willingness to share secrets, in willingness to address things that they've shoved in the closet and get results. And I bet you it has to do with me pulling back into alignment from the overgiving because now there's space for them to step up. Whoa, that's really cool. I just got that right now. Thank you.
I love how you're able to express it even energetically and physically, and it's you're very entertaining, by the way. Just as like a no, but like as somebody on the mic, as somebody who can appreciate other people, like on the mic, like I'm an MC for events and stuff. Like Josh was 100% right. You're magnetizing, like because I can see where it draws people in, and so my question is also off of piggybacking off what Josh started with, which to me is kind of a big chapter I've gone through in life, practicing and studying Qigong, which is like this constant awareness, conscious awareness around harmonizing yin and yang, masculine and feminine energy, within, without, being aware of it in the environment, in nature, in the divine, in ourself, in each other. So this balance that Josh mentioned that you have, this really important and meaningful, but in unique balance of that masculine and feminine energy. Feel like generally what I see in Qigong classes as I call it like a yin deficiency. Like people often, they are very outgoing. They can pour their masculine energy into things, but they have a hard time receiving. There's just, or they have no awareness around the fact that of how you can absorb or receive, nourish yourself with energy from the earth, from the water, the elements, the sun.
Yeah.
Like, how do you see masculine and feminine energy within yourself? And do you have daily practices that harmonize it? Is it like, how do you, in your own awareness and using your heart and mind, how do you navigate through and with those energies? Because it sounds like you're in a place of very grounded alignment, and so what does that look like, through your own daily practice, and for somebody who's maybe just touching on the awareness of like, well, I don't even know what my masculine or feminine may feel like within myself. Like, where do they, what does that look like on that journey?
Yeah. And then a layer deeper is we can have like toxic masculine and toxic feminine as well as like healthy masculine and healthy feminine as we get to know ourselves. So I would say my overly giving would be my toxic feminine, and my overly driven would be my toxic masculine. And I've done both of those. And so the healthier, I believe, at least in me, that it's like a spark of creation from the healthy feminine of truth, of a desire, of delight, of like something. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? That would feel good. That would nourish someone I love, or that would tickle my fancy or delight me. Like there's a spark, and then his healthy masculine is to execute that, to ask the question, to send the email, to make the call, to walk his feet somewhere. So these sort of this like dances on the inside of me. And I do have practices where I put a line down the center of my journal and I'll get them to talk to each other. And sometimes they were just like back to back. They wouldn't even talk to each other in the beginning. You never talk to me. Well, you don't even just speak up. Well, yeah, just like a fight in a marriage was happening inside of me. So now they've turned towards each other and they're there for each other. You know, he can listen and be present, and she can feel her feelings, and he doesn't fix her or abort mission anymore. That happens within myself. Like I can be with my own feelings. And I can be heard. I'm really scared to tell you what I want. Like I'm starting a Docu-Series. I've never done that before. I'm terrified. I don't know who to trust and what to do and how to make money at. I don't know anything. But she has this idea and she wants to give it. And he's like, well, I'll figure it out. Like they have these little conversations inside. So that's one thing I would share, is start to listen and trust the dialogue within you, and be willing to apologize, honor, listen, be brave, shut up. All the things in an outside relationship happen on the inside within us. So that's the cultivation of an intimate, healthy relationship of these energies. So that's one practice I have. Another practice I have, this is one of my more feminine practices, although I have a lot of feminine movement practices as well, is just letting myself feel made love to by life, like receive, made love to by the sun, made love to by the sip of I call it my witch's brew in the morning, like be made love to, like, and don't do anything, just receive. And so I have these, I just sit and maybe I go out in nature and I just allow myself to like be made love to by the beauty of the sunset. And I just receive. And I also love to dance. I dance flamenco every single week. Before that, I used to dance pole dancing. Before that, I've been a dancer, as you know, in Tokyo, and then like little ballet as a little girl. So I'm always dancing so my feminine can express. And I give her permission not to do steps right. Although flamenco, you got to do the steps right. But then once you get to a certain level of mastery, the body just takes over. And I love that as a feminine expression practice. And then my masculine, I have a trainer, and he kicks my ass, makes me do crazy shit like jujitsu, and makes me lift heavy weights and all the things I don't think I can do. So he stretches me to go beyond where I think I can't. And even if I fail, he's like, good job, second set. And I failed again. Great job. Third set. Like I have a physical practice regularly to risk and fail and keep going all the time. And that completely supports me in my business life to continue to ask questions, and that didn't work, and what else is possible. But to bridge my feminine. Sounds right, doesn't feel right. Even if they reject you, let it go. It's not aligned. We know, we on the inside, masculine, feminine, we know. And we know what it's like. We know the financial mistakes, all the different mistakes we've made, and the cost it's been to our well-being when we didn't listen to her. She knows. Listen to her. Not that she's more important, but it's like she's the source. She's the checkpoint of that. And it's his honor. And he's not being thrown off into a battle where he's going to die, because she's actually listened to her truth. And he's gone off into many battles and died and been quite pissed at her about that. So their relationship on the inside is getting far more honoring. And may it project into meeting a great guy, because there's a much healthier relationship going on inside of me. Did that answer your question, Travis?
Yeah, it totally did, in a beautiful fashion. And I can't help but have two quick piggyback questions.
Of course.
What's in the witch's brew?
Oh, okay. So I'm a detox. I do detoxes with Aria Organic once a quarter. And I got off coffee about a year ago. And so in the witch's brew is rasa. She's also been on my podcast, like adaptogens and such. Rise mushrooms, body botanica, high altitude. I live at 7,500 feet in Santa Fe. So there's that. Cacao from Peru, cayenne pepper, and a little stevia.
Nice.
That's my witch's brew.
I feel like your witch's brew needs to be like a product included in the Docu-Series that, you know, like you somehow.
Sure, I'll probably it'll probably be shown with me doing all my different practices. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much you can share on the Docu-Series. Maybe that can come later in the conversation. But one final question that I have about the masculine, feminine energy,
Yeah.
and then is that bridge between them, and like this idea of the feminine being a checkpoint. I love that. How does the bridge or the conversation, the dialogue between them and the relationship to them, or the intimacy of them, if those, how does that impact, create, affect, expand capacity?
Significantly. I guess we could take the 4 quadrants. When I was like disempowered feminine, I would manipulate to be safe. I would shine people on. I would whatever. And if I was leading just with my toxic masculinity, he wasn't listening to anybody. He just had a goal and he didn't care who he kind of hurt in the meantime. He was just going to get her done. He didn't care if Allana's physiology didn't sleep well, didn't eat well. Like he didn't care about any of that kind of stuff. He just was going. So those were, my capacity was hindered in those ways. Insecure manipulator or bulldozer this way. If I only led with my healthy feminine, she really didn't want to do much. She just wanted to express and write in her journal and send love notes to people all day and write another book. I have 6 books. She just likes to create and just hang out with her clients. She doesn't really care about, did the bills get paid? Did like the trash get taken out? Did you know, and she doesn't have any memory of any of that. So there were times when I just sort of tra-la-la, let all that go and was just all in my sensual joy and creative output. Also, as a business owner, I wouldn't hold my team to task. I was afraid to speak up. I've never really been just, I think healthy masculine, but if I try to think of when I was just healthy masculine, I guess I do. I'm so driven by the feminine soulful request that again, I don't take the weekend off and just be. Yeah, he can be when he's in his healthy. And I would say he trusts, he is all, he's consciousness, he's everything. So he doesn't have fears. So yeah, I'd say probably that's my, of all the quadrants, my edge to grow is that to be more on the weekends and to trust I can relax and the business is not going to fall apart. And then maybe an employee will die on the weekend. Like still crap will happen. But that's my next edge. Not like cognitively to scale the business, but to work smart from a soulful level of what my gifts are and my genius is in a way that balances with my health and well-being, the return of my son, and the welcoming of a lover.
I think there's a few nuggets there just to highlight, which is, the fact that we all have masculine and feminine energies. They're not, men aren't just masculine and women aren't just feminine. We have both. And we have our defaults. We have, like we might be comfortable with this, but we don't really have this other texture online. But there's just textures to these energies and they can be practiced, right? Yeah. Like we talked about masculine or feminine practice. And so we can cultivate these different feminine and masculine skill sets because they are skills, and then harness them and channel them into who we want to be, how we want to relate, how we want to create, how we want to love. And so I just want to point that out too. But I think this is also a good way is I'd be an intimacy coach. And I know that you have talked about step one is, intimacy is an inside job. We can't create intimacy outside until we create intimacy inside. And so we kind of discussed that. Now, how does one then start focusing outside to use these feeling your emotions, trusting your intuition, surrendering to all of life, and harmonizing the masculine and feminine energies within? How do then we start to engage with the outside world, whether it's with another human or with a team of employees, and how does it work like that?
Yeah. Maybe just to add one element to that, because a lot of our audience are men, and we do a
Mm.
lot of work with men, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume that the answer to that might be a little bit different when you're with, a male client versus a female client, right?
Mm.
Females are more naturally able to do certain things that men just have more blockages. So maybe, as you answer that, like if there's like critical kind of like differences that you've found in answering that question from a male perspective versus a female, I think that would be particularly interesting for our audience.
Thank you. I have something to say, and then a practice I can give people, and then an example of a couple that I work with. So hopefully that'll cover all the bases. The old me, without the integration of these, the intimate relationship between my feminine and masculine on the inside, I believed somebody of what I should do in my business. And I literally had my full-time coaching job, and I took on creating a dating app. So I was working 2 full-time jobs, and I had no balance, and I was outsourcing my wisdom guidance to someone else, and it all crashed. Both businesses pretty much went down, had to start from scratch again. Now, with my full-time coaching business, with weekends off from time to time, new concept, amazing. And I'm building this docu-series. I sat down with my head gal and I said, we're not going to do a crash course docu-series in 3 months. We're going to fit it in over the entire year so that we'll enjoy the process. We won't get burnt out. We're going to weave it in. When we do an interview, we're going to do the interview for the podcast and for the docu-series. We're going to work smart, not hard. Like, I'm starting to think more with balance and cohesiveness. I'm starting to lead my business with this way and have conversations. But what do you think? Am I doing my old overgiving thing, or am I balanced? So that's one thing where it's shifting. A communication tool that I think is amazing in building intimacy for both feminine and masculine, because one's the speaker, one's the listener, is called the dyad. I've done this for maybe trained in it for 25 years. Very simple, but very profound. And it's because of the container. You can do 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And then the rest of the time is the third question. First question for the first 5 minutes. Tell me something you like about me. And you go back and forth. One person asks, the other person answers, I like your smile. And the first person says, thank you. This is the key. Thank you does not mean I agree. It means I heard you and I understand. And if you didn't understand, you say, clarify that. But you go back and forth for 5 minutes about what you like about each other. Because yes, you love each other, but quite often you forget why you like each other, whether that's romantic or work or children or whoever. And it builds affinity. We know I did a speech for Heart Math. I was so honored to be able to do a meditation at one of their annual conferences to bring people into heart coherence. And it's appreciation. And if you can't appreciate yourself or another, at least have compassion for yourself or other. Either of those will measurably raise your coherence. So you do that to get yourself into heart coherence. 5 minutes. Second one, tell me something you think we align on. On a good day, you're on the same team, but they give you that glance or they forget something. And then all of a sudden you're on 2 teams. So by asking that question back and forth, telling me something you think we align on making sure we go out for date night every week. Thank you. And then you switch. And that then after 5 minutes of this, you remember that you are heading in the same direction. You are married for a reason. You are working at the same company for a reason. It really supports with alignment. And over time, it will show that couples are actually moving apart, that they love each other, but their values and their directions are no longer aligned. And you can complete with more conscious uncoupling rather than blame and anger and all the rest of it. It can be quite a lot more graceful when you get to the core of, oh, that's actually not what I align with, right? Truth. So this is the second piece for 5 minutes. The third piece, this third question always changes every time you do a dyad. And I recommend doing it once a week, 40 minutes. Could be, tell me something you want me to understand that you think I don't fully understand. And again, here's where the listening partner gets to practice, not interrupting, not going, well, yesterday you did whatever, right? You just have to shut the fuck up and say, thank you. And this practices the art of accepting another's differences and keeping your heart open and loving them. You don't have to agree on everything to love the other, understand the other, seek to have compassion for the other, and keep your heart open. And then you switch. 30 minutes of tell me something you think that you want me to understand that you think I don't understand. It could be 30 minutes of tell me a way you like to, that you like to be loved. Tell me a way that you like to be touched. 30 minutes back and forth. It could be, tell me something you're afraid to tell me. It could be subject oriented. It could be, tell me something about you and sex, you and oral sex, you and money, you and our aging parents, you and our children, you and our summer vacation. It could be anything, back and forth. And the key is there's no interrupting. You're completely safe to share anything and you will be received fully. You have to practice not interrupting and listening without judgment and keeping your heart open. And I swear by the end of 40 minutes, you're going to be really connected. And that practices the feminine expression. Quite often when we're not being heard by our partner, we just talk and talk and talk. We won't shut up. But when they're fully present, you'd be amazed how quickly you drop out of the anger through the anguish to the sadness underneath. And that communication is very pure because you're so safe and so heard by either partner. So the listener, consciousness, presence, non-interruption, speaker, speaking from heart, speaking from truth, being heard. So that's an amazing practice. And then lastly, I would think of a couple that I coach, and they're both extraordinary humans. They both do the work, but each of their core wounds from growing up, in her culture, women were less than men. So she always had to be better than her brothers. She felt fundamentally broken from birth and is quite a high overachiever. And anytime emotion comes at her, she would deflect because a lot of not kind things would come at her. So if he would ever have an emotion, anything other than happy, she would leave her body or react. That was like this little dynamic. On the other side, he, Irish, Catholic, mother was sick as he grew up, wasn't allowed to be sad, wasn't allowed to be upset. Once she died, they never spoke about it again. Him, his brother, and the dad, done. So a lot of not allowed to feel feelings and coping mechanisms, unhealthy coping mechanisms. So they had about 80% truth that they'd share. But as soon as he'd be getting a little depressed, scared, dark, that would trigger her. So he didn't share it. So they had truth to that level. And then he'd go sideways and drink or do something. And then for her, she would get, if he had anything other than happy, she'd kind of get cold and put up the defenses. So he'd check out. So they have this like pattern going on. And in the dyad, they each actually do plant medicine with me as well to individually integrate those traumas, because it's not the other one's job to fix you, heal you, or that's not their job, to walk with you, but to take ownership of our own wounds. So they do individual and together work. So individual plant medicine to integrate the traumas. But as they have done this and they do the dyads, they come together. We now have like a full transparency, share it all rule. And if it's something really scary, we do it on a group call. But you can watch them. He's like, it's getting dark. I'm afraid. And now I'm afraid that you can't be with it. And I don't know where to go. And to coach her and being, I'm right here. And for her to have the actual lived experience of this is her masculine now. She needs to be in her masculine and just be. And then he shares and then he integrates and then they're closer. And for her to be, I need you. They're so like, I'm not needy and I'm a badass and all of this for her to go, I need you. And I'm so scared that you're going to reject me, that I'm not perfect and I'm not an achiever. And he's like, come here. So it's just been beautiful to watch between the two of them, the use of plant medicine, the use of the dyad, and never giving up as we evolve in the most beautiful playground of relationship.
Structures and communication practices, especially within relationship. But I'm currently not dating, but a year ago when I was dating, I was having fun with some of these questions on coffee dates that I was going on. And I would ask the woman, like, tell me something you don't want me to know about you.
Was this Josh? Is this on date number one?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Get right
Absolutely.
into it.
Because I'm going to answer that question, right? I'm not going to ask of course, I'm asking the question knowing that I'm going to have to answer it as well.
Yeah.
But man, what a great way to meet somebody, right? And get to know somebody.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I think the point is like when we are in relationship, like what you were describing is like we might love somebody, but we naturally we drift, or we just get comfortable, or we get stuck in these deep grooved patterns, and we don't share everything, and we're not transparent about the things that might be sticky or shadowy, or the fears, right? And so it's so important to, especially within a committed monogamous relationship, to be really exploring these simple questions, but terrifying questions at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not start on date number one? Asking the difficult questions is the way I look at it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of guys too. I mean, you in terms of being head of a household, right, and being the protector, and so, and I've done this throughout my life, and I know a lot of guys do. Is you kind of you don't tell the full truth because you're trying to protect, right? You're trying to, but in doing so, that creates a lot of anxiety for the woman, right? Who then is, it's like, there's a trust issue, and but from a guy's perspective, you might be doing it from maybe the right place, but it's not creating that, cohesion that you need in a relationship. So I think I think that's definitely something that I think a lot of guys struggle with, but not necessarily coming from potentially the wrong place, but it doesn't allow for that relationship to be, in like truthful cohesion and union.
It's beautiful because he's not coming from the wrong place in his conscious masculine, but the conscious feminine isn't integrated there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's only 20% of the time that he comes home from a really bad day at work and asks, can you give me a hug? I had a really rough day. And he won't do it because that's not protecting, which is accurate, but it's not the whole picture of who he is. And then she'll be like, he's cranky. What's wrong with him? And then she'll go, oh, I'm fat. And like, it'll just spiral down and there'll be a huge fight. Yeah. So these capacities.
Yeah, it's like, what did I do wrong?
Why do you think, and I know you work with a lot of men too, but why do you think men have such a difficult time asking for help, whether it's mentally, emotionally, energetically, relationally? Like, what is the barrier? What's the block that you most see with men?
The fucking patriarchy. We've been raised where you're wrong and bad for anything other than perfection and single focus. So there, you haven't been loved for your heart. You haven't had space for your humanity. You haven't been honored for your vulnerability. And there's carnage for women and carnage for men. Like the whole system doesn't work for anybody. It's not against men and for women. It's just like that dynamic isn't conducive to intimacy. You can't have patriarchy and intimacy at the same time. They're counter. So you have to go, because in patriarchy, there's a winner and a loser. You do it right or you do it wrong. I'm superior, you're inferior. There's no other way out. Fifth dimensional living is I win, you win, we all win. Right? Your feelings matter, my feelings matter. The feelings of the world matter. Your health matters, my health matters, the health of the world matters. Like it's all collaborative, cohesive. So that way of being, your feelings matter. You've had a bad day at work. My feelings matter. I haven't slept. The kids were up all night, whatever. Like everybody matters. And it's safe for everybody to matter. And we're thinking about the whole. Well, what could we do as a team for the greatest good of all? So that, I believe, is why, men have trouble expressing, asking for help. They've been raised not to. And frankly, when I'm also coaching women who haven't learned to cultivate their own intimate relationship with themselves and they've outsourced their safety to him, they've outsourced it all to him. As soon as he's had a bad day, she can't be with it. She can't listen because he's the source of her safety or her approval, or that can go both ways. It could be he has had a bad day and his source of worth is her approval. It could go either way. But again, that's why I love intimacy, because when we cultivate this wholeness from within, we can bring vulnerability and strength to our partnerships and our impact on the planet.
So my question was related to that dyad. You said you suggest like once a week as a practice. Why once a week?
Elephants gather in the living room like a herd of elephants, right? Like, have you noticed if you don't talk about something, if you don't resolve something, you can know that, I just want to take his head off tonight, or I feel so, unimportant. But every Friday night, you're going to resolve this. And every Sunday night or whatever night you choose is going to be your, hour plus lovemaking session. Like there's no pressure that we have to make love tonight because I'm friggin' exhausted and the kids are driving me wild or whatever. But every Sunday it's our night. And, we've got to have the kids sleep over, or we do what we do. So we can always have intimacy, whether we actually have intercourse or not, but we get to be in bed and be with our bodies and be with our pleasure and be with each other. And then once a week, we get to talk it out. Anything that's, hurt. But if we've had a really great week, we get to talk about, well, tell me a way you like to be touched. Tell me a way you love to be loved. Tell me something you really adore about me. Like, do that for 30 minutes. Like, you're going to feel phenomenal. There's always something to nourish the relationship. And I find that it's a regular repair of ruptures, and it's a regular connection of bodies. Helps us be embodied, helps us be present with one another.
For sure, a firm believer on scheduling, whether it's weekly check-ins or, I'm a fan of scheduling intimacy, scheduling sex. And I always get the reaction, especially from men, where they're like, well, that doesn't seem very spontaneous or romantic. And I'm like, well, how much sex are you having?
Yeah, you're right.
And then, to be honest, like, in my experience, a lot of women are like, to your point, well, I don't have to turn it on tonight when I've had a long day and I'm stressed and the kids are driving me nuts. And I could just soften and surrender to the fact that, like, oh, in 3 days, we have 2 hours blocked off to just be with each other without expectation. And there's more intimacy and more passion is going to come through in that 2 hours than if you just leave it up to chance, right?
It's brilliant, Josh, what you said. When we know we're heard, understood, seen, valued, important, put on the calendar, when we know that as a regularity, we don't hold grudges through the week either. You actually have better communication through the week because you know the dyad's coming. You actually have quickies in the laundry room because you know that's coming. Otherwise, it's, oh, there he is. He wants it again. And there's no foreplay and I'm exhausted. But oh no, every single time we're going to have our 2 hours. It just makes you feel more important and special and beautiful and loved. And then you feel more juicy and receptive all week long. It's like, it's counterintuitive.
And then, just like how you would show up for a scheduled meeting in business, you better show up to your scheduled meeting in intimacy.
Yes.
And if you're feeling any sort of resistance or dreading it, which I certainly have been there in the early days, you got to work through that shit, right? Because you need to show up and work, and you got to show up present and energized and just ready to dive in with whatever you've agreed to. But we're really good at making commitments and showing up in our professional lives, and then we see the results. Yep. Well, why wouldn't that same pattern, commitment, work in our personal lives, our relational lives?
Yeah. And
it's
sometimes
like it's easy.
Breaking out of the old patterns, though, can be tough. And when I don't want to talk once a week. I don't want to have sex once a week. I just want to get to it. I don't want to have to do all the, like there's stuff often in the way. And that's where people like you with your men's work and your coaching and your groups and the work that I do or the teacher training we were in, Josh, like it's okay to still have this goal and it be crunchy and get some support. It doesn't, I'm going to make this and everything's going to be great. Maybe good for you if it is, but you're probably going to bump up against a lot along the way. And it's not wrong. That's awesome. It just means you're going to be more and more deeply intimate with yourself and your partner in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Ask for help.
Yeah, because 1 week it might be this high energy, passion, orgasmic bliss. And then the next week, she needs to cry or she needs to vent or he needs to just receive some love or physical touch or something. And so it changes.
Yeah.
Again, this idea of surrendering and non-attachment.
Right. And it could be that once a quarter, we don't see each other that weekend. We both go off with our men's group and women's group, right? Or we take a family trip or whatever. But this scheduling can be sexy. It really can. It can really add to your life.
And I actually think the scheduling leads to more spontaneity as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, the structure leads to more freedom.
Yes,
it really does. It can at times, for sure.
It can go overboard, but in general, yeah. Banks of the river flows really well. No banks. Yeah.
Okay. I have a super fun question I want to ask you. And this is this is like leaning into a little bit of creativity and vision here. But the three of us have been talking a lot about how right now for young men, especially let's say between the ages of 18 to 25, I'm going to this young men's program for my 15-year-old son in a couple weekends, and it's designed to be a rite of passage. It's designed to be a very empowering experience among other men. And my question to you is, if you could design let's call it a 7-day, 10-day immersive experience for your son to
Mm.
experience something as like to cultivate virtues and values within him, to learn practices, experiences, what would you want to see? How would you design something for that young man?
Yeah.
What do you think would be most supportive of him and his peers at this stage?
Specifically for my son, and he's even aware of this and has expressed it. Goes, Mom, I have such a short fuse. I'm so angry. So he hasn't had a healthy way to integrate, to express, be heard, and integrate anger. So that's one thing. Underneath that, we all know is going to be something probably sorrow. Maybe fear, but probably sorrow. So he's going to need, and he's been to one of these young men's adventure weekends. So I took him when he was 15 up to Canada. So he told me, he wasn't supposed to tell me what happened, but he told me some things. We went to this river or the lake, and we just poured our grief into it. We were allowed to cry. All of us cried together. So I think he needs a very cathartic release. And it's always, I believe, best to be heard. When I've been in that same dyad training that I was taken through, they told me that communication is a two-way process. There's the speaker and the listener. And if the speaker speaks, but the listener ignores, justifies, isn't paying attention, isn't present, communication didn't occur because it didn't get received, and it stays spinning in the mind or held in the heart or anger in the body, whatever. So these processes would need to be, even if it's just presence with no words, but it needs to be received by another to truly complete in my experience. So something to do with a space for sorrow. I personally want him to have some work around healthy honor of the feminine. The patriarchy hasn't done a fantastic job. And even feminism, I think, was more of a pendulum swing reaction. Like there's a new place of how the masculine can honor the feminine within himself and with his mother and with his beloved and who he's dating in one day. So a real conscious expression teaching. I don't know what the practice would be, but allowing him to honor his own feelings, his own expression, and welcome the emotions of honorably expressed emotions. I'm not saying we can trauma vomit onto people, but the honorable expression of feminine emotions as a navigation to the masculine within oneself and another, to trust that and listen, and to not take it personally, and to not get defensive or make excuses, and to be willing to take, and another piece would be to take ownership without self-judgment. How to really just go, okay, I fucked up. I'm sorry. How can I clean up the mess and make it better? Versus not even being able to say I fucked up, or I hurt you, or I'm sorry I hurt you. And a lot of times we hurt people, but we have no intention. And because we had no intention, we don't think we hurt them, but we did. So it's about, I don't need to be right about my intention. They're hurt. I'm going to get over in their world and apologize. And how can I make it better? Because I'm already whole. I don't need their approval and to look good to be whole. I'm already whole. So that kind of ownership communication practice for with other men, with work, and certainly with women. And then the last thing I would want for him is that he doesn't have to rush into figuring out what his purpose is, and he's got to know. And I've had my entrepreneurial life has unfolded over and over and over, and that you don't have to get it right now and then do that for the rest of your life to be good or be right or be approved of. Like, let himself explore who he is and let it unfold over time. And he could be 70 years old and make another choice. Like, who cares? Just keep growing and keep evolving. Like, we never get there. Like, his worth isn't based on getting somewhere or accomplishing something. Although I want him to create and accomplish a lot, but for the joy of it, not the ego hit of it. And I want to do plant medicine with him at some point and just really have a great experience and fall in love even more.
Nice. Yeah. Nice cherry on top there.
That's the cherry on top. Yeah.
We'll do all the other work first.
Yeah. Can you do that for me? And then I'll, thanks.
Yeah. And then we'll hand them over.
Yeah. Send me the invoice. And I'm great.
That was a fantastic rundown. And I can relate to it a lot, with my wife, and seeing in her relationship to our son, my stepson, and where he's at 15. And I mean, everything that you just listed, I was like, I could feel it. I was like, oh yeah. Like taking notes over here, like, oh yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That was it was really enlightening and refreshing to hear from a mother's perspective and from you directly. I really appreciate that. Because we are always talking about these things to ourselves, and that's great. But we, to inject and infuse, your wisdom into the possibilities there, because I think what you just described, a lot of parents and moms and fathers are relating to. I mean, young men are having the hardest time more than any other demographic in our society.
Yeah.
And whether that's suicide or addiction, whether that's electronics or sex or drugs or whatever it is, it's like a minefield out there for them right now.
Yeah.
And it's in a lot of ways way more difficult and challenging than it's ever been. And so, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I think that the last part of that of the, you don't have to figure it out, right? It's like, and having, teenage daughters, and especially one who's about to go to college, there's this, I feel like, anxiety amongst, I mean, this kind of spans ages, but especially the younger people and I think partially it is maybe just kind of with social media and just kind of like these perfect, kind of seemingly perfect moments being blasted out. And then it's like, oh, I've got to figure out like what my purpose is, or what, am I making the right decision? There's just so much pressure to decide, right? And to have it figured out, where, the beauty of, and I mean, this is, coming from a serial entrepreneur, is like, life is an amazing journey, and there's ups and downs, and figuring, and like, who you are at 18 is very different than who you're going to be at 38 or 48 or 25. Or, so it's a process of kind of allowing them to take that pressure off while still, going in a direction, right? And putting in the effort to explore and decide and figure out, like, this feels right, this doesn't feel right, just because maybe this will look cooler on Instagram or something. Is that really like what I should be doing, right? And like allowing them the space to kind of have that journey, versus having this pressure of like, oh, I've got to figure it out, and this decision I'm making now is going to be just this permanent decision that's going to impact everything going forward. So I think that's a really important part, especially with younger people, because they do have so much runway, right? I mean, literally the opportunities are infinite, and really getting them excited around the abundance of that, versus having this like existential dread of like the unknown.
It comes all back to intimacy for me. Like, if they will risk and try and build resilience and build perseverance, and it doesn't work out, but they still have their own back and they're not going to judge themselves, then they can pivot and then pour themselves into something else. I see a lot of, oh, I'll try it once, that was hard, never mind. Oh, swipe. Like, there isn't this fortitude of like, it could hurt so good to do 10 more push-ups. Oh, right? So like, that is something else that needs to be cultivated as well. Some inner, such deep self-love, self-respect, self-connection, that I will risk and fail and go, great, what did I learn? I won't retract. I won't give up. I won't judge them or me. I'll just suck the marrow out of that splat on my face and go, okay, super good. That's saying go left, I think, right? Because that right didn't go so well, but I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. Yeah.
Because it hurts so good.
That's
could be
right.
like totally a tagline or a mantra. Like, I mean, I like that one a lot. Hurts so good. Yeah.
Well, but that's like every time I ever do a journey, I don't know about you two, or you three, but like when my clients come in, they're scared. I'm like, yeah, me too. I don't know what's going to happen. Do you? I don't. Nope. It was my turn.
People say that to me all the time. And I'm like, well, it's good. I mean, that's like, you should. Yeah. I mean,
it shows respect, actually.
Yeah. And humility. Yeah, humility and respect, and that we don't have it all figured out. And the more I know, the more I certainly don't know. But I think that's one of the reverential uses of plant medicine, as opposed to using it to check out, is that it does humble us, and it reminds us that we don't know it all. But it also simultaneously connects us to what we do know. our purity, our essence, what we really are here. Like not our job description purpose, but like I'm about vulnerability, bravery, intimate communication with others, with myself, and with the divine. Like those are, if I can have those flavors in whatever I do, I'm pretty fulfilled.
So we've been throughout this entire conversation, we've been sprinkling in the psychedelic work. So let's just grab the cherry right now. And so talk to us directly about I think you call it psychedelic, somatic, interpersonal psychotherapy.
Yeah, that's
Did I get that right?
PSIP. Yeah.
PSIP.
Yeah.
So just speak to us directly. What is PSIP and how do you work with your clients and these psychedelic plant medicines?
Yeah. 25 years ago, as I said, ayahuasca, a lot of great learnings, but the like leaving of my body, having these experiences, and I couldn't integrate them. And how did I know I couldn't integrate them into my life? Is that husband number one, husband number two, third one was like criminal assault. Like I'm like, what is going on? It's not getting in. I know a lot, have awareness. I have these like moments of reprieve, but I still have the same issue. So after, 5 or 6 years ago, starting this, it's generally cannabis. It's just it's a reverent use of cannabis, one-on-one, staying with the person in their body and not letting them leave. Different practitioners can use ketamine, or psilocybin, depending on what state they're in and what I'm not a licensed facilitator. I'm a guide, that for harm reduction and for emotional support services. So they provide the medicine of what they want to do. And what I've learned is cannabis is an incredible teacher to help you stay in the body. So you basically have a low dose of medicine. You're blindfolded. It's one-on-one. And we set our intentions and protect the space to begin with. And we surrender to the body, to the medicine, and to the divine. And I'm the guide listening multidimensionally, knowing them because I coach with people for a year. So it's not, you can't just come to see me for the weekend and then you're gone, because it can be very destabilizing and disorienting when the mask that you've created to your identity, your ego, is like, whoa, and the wound is integrated. It's a lot. So it's best to have support for the whole year. So again, we go on these journeys, and the way the body works with these medicines is when they get really cold, empty, they're gone. They've dissociated. And we don't make dissociation wrong. Dissociation was what that little kid did to handle the abuse or the neglect, is really what it comes down to. And it's just, they never, for too many consistent times, they were neglected or abused, and the body checked out. So the goal is to bring you back into the body, into your full presence, power, and freedom. And the path is it hurts so good. The pain is so good. So first they dissociate, they're cold. And I go, let's allow that. And then I speak literally to the body. You have every right to do this. It was so scary. You were so wise to take off. When you're ready to come back into the body, I'm here. It's a relational therapy. I care. I am able to be with your emotions. I'm not scared of anything. I am not going anywhere. I've got you. And we allow not the person, the spirit of the person, the body, the soul, to come back into the body. And it comes back in. And then the first piece, once you're back in, is level 3. And there's often feelings of nauseousness and emotions of what's the point, hopelessness, helplessness, why try? And again, relational. I'm saying to them, you have every right to feel this way. I'm not going anywhere. Take me with you. I'll go with you anywhere. Take me to the darkness. Take me to the underworld. I'm right here. And that again never happened to the person. So it's building new relational pathways. So once that, and I'm not making it happen, they're not making it happen, we're allowing the body to come back in and be witnessed, held, seen, and supported in that dark place. All of its own accord, it'll move into level 2. And I can feel it coming after doing this for so many years. It might sound a little wacko, but what happens when they're going into that 30, 60 seconds of really super intense panic, terror, rage, fury, self-hatred, those are generally the flavors of level 2. Tones come through. It's the craziest thing. And I tell them this is going to happen. If it happens, it's not a party trick. I can't just turn it on. But these very high-pitched sounds And there's like several sounds will come through. My hands this one will always be still. This one will shake. It's like I'm helping the energy move through the body. It's like something is using my vessel with these tones. And the clients I've reported, it was like, and it's almost digital sometimes. It's like goes, Anyways, I don't make it happen. It happens. They're like, it felt like an energy that was helping break up the held trauma and help it move through. And it doesn't happen for very long because that stage doesn't happen for very long. And it doesn't happen every time, but sometimes it happens and it's always a gift. So I let myself feel like a dork, look like a dork, tell them it's happening. And it's always a gift. And what happens when I receive this is I have all this downloads of multidimensional information. I see things like I've seen when they've tried to kill themselves before. I've seen these images come of like what that was. And it's humbling and a privilege. So that's level 2, trauma. And it's super intense. And if they're yelling, sometimes I'll yell with them, or I'm like, yeah, that's right. You're safe to feel this. I'm right here. Yeah. Let her rip, like whatever it is. So they feel safe to feel this because they're not high. We're talking the whole time. The medicine has gotten them out of the secondary consciousness of their brain into the primary consciousness of their body, but they're completely present, and not high. So level 2 is quite short. And then we're in level 1 and they'll often, cry, relief, tears. Oh my God, I made it. Because that little kid that went through that trauma didn't think they were going to make it. They actually thought they were going to die. So the relief is a very sweet part of the autonomic nervous system process where I made it. And I said, yes. And this is the reparenting. You are enough. You are safe. You are worthy. You do deserve to be respected. You do deserve to be protected and supported. So my words in this neuroplasticity moment are very important. Again, I take this very, not like seriously, but with a lot of reverence as I'm reparenting them. And then we get to 0 point. And I take copious notes the whole time. And I record these sessions for what I call their report of findings. So we get to 0 point. You can swim through the room. The energy is so thick. It is oneness with all. They start to talk like Buddha. The wound has been integrated and they have the energy. I think their soul comes in their body, or another sliver of it, a soul retrieval, because they start talking with wisdom, embodied wisdom about what happened. With complete forgiveness doesn't even make sense anymore. They get that their soul chose this for their evolution and they're wise about it. And I'm recording it and I'm writing it down, and they're embodied bliss, not like a bliss you get when you leave your body with other kinds of medicines. It's an embodied wholeness, an embodied calmness, an embodied bliss, an embodied oneness. And that's a wave. And one journey, you can have 3 or 4 of those. So it's a lot to go through. It's a lot for me to stay present with. It's a lot for me to take notes with. And they're quite physically spent by the end of it, but they're so whole. And then I tuck them in. And then I have my sanctuary, and when they wake up, I'll have made some snacks for them, and I'll run a bath for them. And I'm writing out their report of findings because I've got a 2-week window of neuroplasticity where what the wisdom that came through after every single wave is their way of rewiring their brain. They are literally reparenting themselves into secure attachment. I am reparenting them as a divine mother or divine father. They have wisdom from their soul, and their job, their assignment is to read those report of findings morning and night. And then the next morning after I feed them and tuck them in again, and I'm there in the morning, I read them. So they have an audio version and a written version. And I put the little blankie on them and they meditate, and they don't remember most of the journey, but when they hear it, they're like, oh, that happened. And then that happened. Yeah. And then that sets them up for day 2. We do 2 days back to back, and we go into another journey. It is mind-blowing. It is the greatest privilege. It's everything I've ever been through to cultivate my capacities to be this. And the results are like hockey stick. Like I've coached for 22 years and we get there, but it might take us 5 years of coaching. Radical results, radical awarenesses, radical shifts, at a pace they can handle because we do it within a year. But I'm astounded by drug addiction's gone, sex addiction's gone. I'm not going to take responsibility for healing cancer, but it went into remission. And marriages are saved. Finally, after date number 1 for 100 dates, meeting someone and having a relationship, because these core wounds that happened in me as well, where's the abuser to survive? That was mine. Everybody has one. And when that's integrated and we've got congruence between secondary consciousness and primary consciousness, when the whole soul's awareness can come in, people are aligned and congruent and can live a much more capable, free, empowered life. And my clients say to me, they started to see me go through this and they're like, something's changing. What are you doing? We want some of that. What are you doing? And I said, okay, well, let me get my certification so I can handle this and start giving them what I was going through in real time. So now my whole community has up leveled.
It is. It's great.
It's about
I
as
think
good as it gets.
Yeah. We speak about, plant medicines and ceremonial work on this podcast often. And we've had guests who are facilitators of all kinds of lineages and traditions and medicines and stuff. But I think the point is working with these medicines, like you said, with reverence, with humility, with intention, with safety, and with guidance. That lifting of the veil that happens, it accelerates healing. It accelerates conscious evolution. They're also natural, right? Like, so it's like, why would we not commune with these plants, with these spirits, and these energies? Because we get to enter a window where, like you said, things come into alignment, that veil gets lifted, and so much can come through, which makes it difficult sometimes. But again, that's part of the acceleration process.
Yeah. I chose not to become a licensed facilitator of psilocybin in Colorado because the sessions need to occur in a licensed healing center. They have to sign papers that you can't touch them. And there are times in the journeys where it's dark and they ask for a hug, and I want to be able to provide it. I don't offer hugs, but I provide what's required. And that is so the sanctuary that I've created, I didn't have when I went through my medicine. I had to get in a fucking Uber and get into my Airbnb and feed myself. Like, I'm like, what? I was so disoriented. Nobody wrote me out a report of findings. So I take impeccable care of what I believe the container, like we talked about this before, the container is everything. Do your research, because there are people that get raped with these situations. And, there's like anything in life, there's going to be the dark and the light. Plant medicine is no different than anything else on the planet, dark and light. So do your research, trust your intuition to the best you can. Having somebody that does the work like you do and facilitate, I think, is also important. But yeah, I'm grateful to be alive right now. And that's what the docu-series is going to be about. I'm going to call it How to Feel, and share my own journey, my clients' journeys, and still explore more myself, because I'm still a baby. I'm not a psychonaut yet, but I.
Where is the docu-series going to be platformed and available?
Yeah, right now on my Patreon channel is where I'll start. But I'm still choosing who my producer is, whether it will be like on Gaia or it'll be on Prime or wherever. Again, I need to find all of the partners, and I'm going to create a nonprofit for it so that I'm in charge of the funding and the editing and make sure there's no exploitation of people, so that they're very beautifully presented on their journeys. That's also important to me. I've gone, I guess you call it, to network before a couple times, but I had to give away my last edits. I wasn't allowed to be executive producer. It just felt like, no, this is my brand. These are my clients. They're my family. You don't get to mess with this. So I'm learning. I've got the best psychedelic council in America, backing me. And so I'm doing it the best I can to really present this in a way that can show people, even just microdosing, the difference that can make in people's lives.
When you say psychedelic council, what do you mean?
I'm making sure I have lawyers and attorneys,
legal protection.
Yeah, legal protection as I present this for my own well-being and my company's well-being, just to be sure, because it's still a wild west out there, and I want to be sure that I'm protected, and my clients are protected, and my business is protected, and I am an advocate for the reverential use of medicine on the planet.
And it's an interesting time to be an advocate for the reverential use of plant medicine on the planet.
Yes, it is, which is why I have my counsel.
So, Allana, as we land this ship, is there anything else you would love to share with our guests? Anything, any intuition coming through, anything resting on your heart?
I'm just having a moment of gratitude, like your sister, your little one coming into your arms. and the deep practice with you, Josh, where you've seen all of my vulnerabilities and my glory, and all that I've gone through, where it was so easy to give up and get bitter. And I'm just really proud of all of us, and I'm proud of how we're showing up for the world and how we found each other. Like, what are the fucking chances that we're sitting together right now? Like, I'm feeling like, wow, thank you, universe. Thank you. This feels like a moment of real, keep going. You're on track. You're on path. Yeah. So I'm feeling deep gratitude.
Woo! Same here.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hi.
Me too. Yeah.
I say in my coaching, slap your ass. Yeah. So
Hurts so good. Hurts so good.
Maybe I'll try that with my men next time. Slap your ass.
The next time we'll have to take a group to Santa Fe. It's a magical place. So
it is.
Yeah. Well, Allana, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait till this gets to reach our guests' ears and eyes soon in the future. Where would you want to direct people? Where's the best way to just get to consume Allana?
Oh, thank you. My name, allanapratt.com. So ALLANAPRATT.com. You can go /connect, and I'll give you a little scholarship if they'd like to connect with me personally, if that's that. I also have a podcast, Intimate Conversations. We're in season 14, hundreds of episodes. My YouTube channel has over 7 million views, lots of videos there. Instagram, I have a Patreon channel, which right now I'm doing Ask Me Anythings and lives, and soon we'll be dripping the Docu-Series there. And it's also where I share a lot more about my son. I've got 6 books. What else can I send for people? I have 3 journals. There's lots of ways I can love you. And I'd say lastly, one of my books is called Finding the One is Bullshit, Becoming the One is Brilliant and Beautiful. So findingtheonebook.com has a lot of bonuses. It's a very $4.99, an inexpensive way to get to know who I am and what I'm about. So that's the whole gamut of how I can love you.
Allana, this was amazing. You're beautiful. And we look forward to future conversations and hangouts.
Likewise. Thank you for the work you do on this planet and for having me.